We all know that making good progress is essential year on year for each and every student who comes through the school gate. It is worthwhile considering why year-on-year comparability and measure of progress are important, and why the standardised scores you get from PTE provide you with a reliable measure of progress.
I think the benefits of standardised assessments are that they allow you to compare performance between pupils and across time very, very easily. So if a pupil is getting 100 on a standard score in maths at the age of 8, and they're getting that in maths at the age of 11, you can be sure that they've made good progress between then, that they're operating at around about the same level. So I think that comparability and that ease of understanding is a huge benefit. I think they offer the most precise method of assessing. All educational assessment is subject to some element of unreliability. Nothing is perfect. But the thing I like about standard scores is that they often can build in some idea of the confidence that you can have in them. Whereas for a lot of other kinds of assessments, you simply don't know how unreliable they are. You know that they probably are, but you don't know to what extent. So I like the idea that the standardised assessments come with those confidence intervals and warn you to be careful about making judgments based on them. So I think the comparability, I think they're the most precise and the most accurate of the kind of assessments that are out there, and I think the as well as that, I think the granular level of detail you get from them. So what I mean by that is, if you look at the data you get from them, they're not all carved up into grades, and grades often mean that you lose information. So if you say that all pupils performing between this point and this point, we're going to call them a grade A, actually you're losing information there. So there'll be pupils who are still very different within that category who you're giving the same label. So what I like about standardised scores is you get a very fine level of detail, and you're not putting very different pupils lumping them all into the same category.
Here we are going to look in some detail at the progress of a particular student, Connor Gibson, who has taken the progress test in English 3 times. In all instances, the test has been administered towards the end of the school year, so provides both summative information and formative information for Connor's next teacher. Here we start to examine the first set of data in a little detail. What was Connor's starting point? In PTE 8, Connor's standard age score of 110 is in the high average range. However, looking at the Steinine score for each part of PTE shows a discrepancy, a Steinine of 5 for English skills and a Steinine of 7 for comprehension. Examination of the curriculum content categories in the individual report for teachers shows that Connor is below the national percentage correct for grammar and punctuation. The report suggests Connor should aim to consolidate skills that are in place and practice those that are missing. Next steps may include encouraging Connor to use and punctuate direct speech, for example writing dialogue for characters, and to use expanded noun phrases, adverbs and prepositions. By further reviewing the question-by-question report, it can be seen that Connor has difficulty recognising correct punctuation, choosing the correct verb form and completing the sentences correctly. Connor's comprehension skills are strong. He answered all inference questions, there are 9, correctly. Authorial technique questions presented some difficulty, but not much more than in the national sample. So we can see Connor's starting point. Now let's look at how he has progressed. Before we do that, let's hear a view on why year-on-year data collection is important and some of the key aspects to look for.
Year-on-year data collections are vitally important in terms of the progress that youngsters are making. It enables you to obviously chart the journey that's there, obviously recognise accelerated progress when it's evident, but also identify where there have been barriers and why progress may have stalled. For me, again, a consistent approach to assessment is of paramount importance, especially in a system now in Life Without Levels. The use of GL and the implementation of the GL assessment package that's on offer certainly enabled me with my practice and securing accountability and quality assurance activities to really dig down deep and make sure that the practice that was going on in the schools and academies I had responsibility for provided the best educational experience for the youngsters.
By the time Connor was assessed using PTE 9, he had made higher than expected progress. This is good news, and here are the key data to demonstrate this. His standard age score is 117, above average, with an overall STAY9 score of 7. English skills and comprehension are now balanced, with a STAY9 score of 7 each. Let's look in more detail to see where Connor has improved, where we might see the evidence of impact of the work and interventions that have been put in place. We can see that between this progress test in English and the previous assessment, Connor has made higher than expected progress. All curriculum content categories are above the national percentage correct, including grammar and punctuation. Inference, while not affecting overall scores, has fallen back slightly. 60% of simple inference questions achieved, and 75% of complex inference achieved. However, overall, in terms of raw score, Connor achieved 19 out of 25 comprehension questions. Now the report suggests Connor should be encouraged to develop the breadth and depth of his reading. Connor should discuss the evidence that could support a prediction or hypothesis about characters, relationships and motivation, and give examples from the text. This will enable him to continue using and developing his good comprehension. It is further suggested that in terms of grammar and punctuation, next steps may include encouraging Connor to use and punctuate direct speech, to make appropriate use of fronted adverbials, expand noun phrases with modifying adjectives and prepositional phrases, and extend his use of conjunctions after, while, so, adverbs, for example, next, then, soon, or prepositions such as before, after, during, to express place, time and cause. Examination of the question-by-question report shows Connor is still unsure when selecting the correct verb form. Let's look at Connor's third set of data from PTE 10. Has he made further progress? How is he now at selecting the correct verb form? By the time Connor has been assessed using PTE 10, it is clear he is maintaining his progression in English, and the outcomes from the test show expected progress. His standard age score is 116, which demonstrates that he is performing at the same level for his age 12 months on, and overall his performance is above average. There has been a slight change in the STAY9 scores, and reading comprehension, clearly a strength in the past, has improved further. We can see that Connor's progress year on year is expected, so he has consolidated his higher than expected progress this year. It will be worth looking at the curriculum content categories. Grammar and punctuation have dipped slightly, and the analysis of reading comprehension categories. We have focused here largely on the progress at an individual student level, so it is also worth considering which aspects of the data are important to you and your school. You can also gain similar insight looking at impact achieved and the progress of whole groups. Here we have a view on some of the important aspects to consider.
I think that the standardised data that's most interesting for us to compare over time is really the standard score. Is interesting to track changes of that over time. Now, of course, you have the issue that with every standard score, it's got a confidence interval. Once you start comparing more than one of them, you then have more than one confidence interval that you've got to factor in. So you have to be careful when you do that. It's not always straightforward, but I think that can be very powerful. The other thing I think that's very powerful when you do that is to start to look maybe less at the individual, because the individual those confidence intervals can be really significant, and to start to look at cohort averages, because you would hope that in a large cohort, the average of the standard score, some of those confidence interval issues become less significant, because you've got hundreds of pupils. So if you're comparing the average of a cohort over time, some of the issues about confidence and unreliability start to wash out a little bit.
Digging deeper and looking at the question-by-question analysis will help focus on discrete skills that may need support. Here you can see that Connor, and indeed the whole group, are demonstrating difficulty with this question. Now consider the year-on-year data that you have for your students from the progress test in English. What progress have individual students made this year? Have the curriculum areas that have been focused upon shown improvement? Looking at broader groups, how have the groups progressed? Are there any aspects of the curriculum which would benefit from greater attention for the whole group or particular groupings? Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or would like more information, please contact our customer services.